Golden State Media Concepts social media podcast. Time to hashtag everything. We talk about all the fun, crazy stories on social media. From Instagram to Facebook, Twitter to Tumblr, or probably even Friendster. Join us each week as we explore the quirky side of social media. It's the Golden State Media Concepts social media podcast.
It's simple, such a sad song. The one that we rely on to get us.
Thanks for tuning in to the GSMC Social Media News Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. Hey there, I'm your host, Kayla Moeller. Not much has happened in my life the past couple of days. Well, actually, except I did see two of my friends. Not up close, though. We were social distancing. We met up at one of my friends' houses. We all came in separate cars and stuff and set up blankets on the lawn far apart from each other. I brought my own wine in my own wine glass, so I wouldn't touch anything after them, and then they wouldn't touch anything after me. It was a much needed little girl time. I didn't realize how bad I needed to see my friends until after I saw them. We visited for like 3 hours, but it seriously felt like we were together for 10 minutes. It went by so quick. All right, so what is going on in social media news? Well, first I'm going to talk about coronavirus, the usual. So let's get to it, and let's start out with these long-awaited stimulus checks. It seems to me that's all anyone is talking about on social media right now. There have been memes galore, and the clothing company Fashion Nova was trending the other day because they sent out a mass text to their customers saying, when that stimulus check hits, our clothes will be up to 80% off site-wide. Make sure to check it out here. And then included a bunch of corny emojis. And people were big mad about this. It was totally tasteless of Fashion Nova. Like, people really, really need this money. And most people who get it are going to spend it all right away on food and bills and rent. So I don't really think it was appropriate for them to send out a text literally telling all of their customers to spend their government checks during a pandemic on their clothes. They could have worded it in a number of ways without blatantly mentioning stimulus checks. For example, they could have said something like, bored at home? Give yourself something to look forward to getting in the mail. 80% off site-wide. That would have been much better. And I just don't think they needed to literally say, oh, when that stimulus check hits. Like that was not a good thing to do. So needless to say, they're getting destroyed on social media. One user, at @abuttweets said, bro, I hate Fashion Nova. I am not spending my Trump bucks on your biker shorts. And then someone else at @Elay___ said, Fashion Nova will text you in the middle of a hurricane. Stormy weather? Well, we got deals that can weather this storm. Whole store 30 to 80% off. Like, what? And at Amelia XPZ said, Fashion Nova is so wrong for this. The stimulus isn't for shopping. It's for people who need it during such hard times. This is so ignorant. #COVID-19. And she's right. It was a wrong move on Fashion Nova's part. And also, because of their name being highlighted right now, people are taking this opportunity to expose this company in other ways by revealing that it steals designers' clothing ideas and that it underpays its workers and how its workers are usually illegal immigrants, so they take advantage of them. So Fashion Nova got itself into a whole big tangly mess from that tasteless text. And now the internet is trying to cancel them. Okay, enough about Fashion Nova. So have you gotten your stimulus check yet? Well, if you qualify. And if you haven't, there's a way to check the status. But let's recap. So in order to qualify for the stimulus check, you need to make less than $75,000 a year. And then also there's kind of a loophole, like I don't qualify because I'm at that awkward age where my parents still claim me as a dependent on their taxes, which totally sucks for me because I pay my own rent and my own stuff for the most part. So I definitely need that $1,200, but I do understand why my parents claim me. It helps them get more money. And we obviously didn't realize that there'd be a global pandemic where they were giving out $1,200. So it's just a bad situation. So some people have gotten it, some people haven't. But I think the consensus right now is that most people haven't received the money. And I do know a few people here and there who have seen a direct deposit into their account, but it's not usable yet. It still says like pending or processing or whatever. So it's kind of iffy. And I don't know anybody who's received a check through the mail yet. So if you haven't gotten your check yet, don't fret because you can actually track it. And you can do so on the IRS website. They came up with this new thing because they were getting such an influx of calls of just people being like, hi, I want an update on my check. And obviously that would take forever if they had millions of people calling and asking about their update. So they were like, okay, let's just do something online so that anybody can check it whenever they want. So there's a new online portal on the IRS website, and it's called Get My Payment. So you go to the website, it pops up, there's a button that says Get My Payment, click on it, and then there's like some authorized use thing, click OK, and then it will take you to a new page where you enter your social security number or your individual tax ID number, your birthday, your street address, and your zip code. And then from there, it'll tell you what your payment status is and show you if it's scheduled or if it's on its way or how you're going to get it. And then if they don't have any information on it, it'll say that they can't find it. And then if that's the case and you're expecting to get the check and you qualify and all of that, then you can call. Because then that shows that like, oh, maybe they have the wrong address or they forgot it or something. So then you can call at that point. And then they can further investigate it for you. And some people have even accidentally received way more than $1,200 measly dollars. And I will talk about that next.
Do you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do? All these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
Hey, I was just talking about Fashion Nova and their inappropriate text message to customers, encouraging them to use their stimulus check to buy their clothes during a pandemic. Not in good taste. And then I went into how you can track your stimulus check on the IRS online portal. And while most people haven't gotten anything yet, one man from Indiana received millions accidentally. He went to take out some cash at the ATM and he took out something like $200, and then on the receipt, it showed his available balance, and he looked, and it said that he had $8.2 million still left in his account. And then he was like, what the heck? So he ran his card like 10 more times, went on his bank account, like did all this stuff, and it was still there. He just thought it was like a one-time glitch, or I don't know, there's something wrong with the printer. But no, there was actually $8.2 million in his bank account, just out of nowhere. And then he called his bank and asked them, and then they went to investigate, and then just like that, I guess all of a sudden the money was gone. In the blink of an eye, the $8 million just vanished. And he's not sure whether the federal government or his bank accidentally did this, but either way, at least this guy has a good thing to say in like that game of 10 fingers. Like he can hold up his fingers and be like, I used to be a millionaire. And then everyone else will have to put a finger down. Well, unless he's hanging out with millionaires, but I don't think your average person does that. But it's also a bit unnerving if you think about it. Like how do they just, $8 million is a lot of money. How do they just kind of lose track of it or put it in the wrong place like that? And also, what would have happened if he were to see that, take out right then and there $1 million or some high dollar amount right away in cash before they took it back? Would they have noticed? Would he have been arrested? I mean, it was his bank account. I guess it wasn't his money, but I mean, it was still in his account. So I wonder what would have happened if he just went ahead and took some of that money out. Maybe they wouldn't have even noticed. Maybe he could have taken $1 million out, and then he would have had 7.2 in his bank account, and then they would have taken it back. But I mean, I'm sure they probably would have noticed, but also if they're just accidentally depositing millions of dollars into a random person's bank account, then I don't know. It doesn't seem like somebody is paying very close attention. And then also the same thing also happened to another lady who lives in Florida, but she had $8.5 million deposited into her account briefly. It was the same story, same situation, and it was a very similar number. So I wonder what that's all about, because his was 8.2, hers was 8.5. That's pretty close together. Okay, but even the normal people out there are having trouble with their deposits. A lot of Americans are tweeting about the money, saying it's been deposited. They have a notification saying that they've gotten their stimulus money, but they don't know where it is. And some are saying that it's being deposited into old bank accounts that they don't have access to anymore. So then what do? Well, no one knows what to do. Like, not even their bank. No one knows what to do. There's all these glitches, and it's a mess right now. And on the online portal, if you've received your money, it will show you the last 4 digits of the account that the money went into. And like a large amount of people are saying they don't even recognize the account number. And then they talk to their banks, and then the bank is like, well, I have nothing, I can't do anything for you because like we don't have access to federal money and stuff like that. And that sucks, because imagine being that close. You get a notification like, hey, your money's here, and you've been really needing it. You need to pay rent, or you've been eating cup of noodles every day. And then you're like, oh, finally. And then you check, and it got sent to the wrong account. And now you can't figure out how to access it, and your bank doesn't know what to do either. And now you have to wait even longer to try to get the money that's in there that you just can't access. That's got to be really frustrating. So yeah, there's definitely some glitches that need to be worked out. But the whole issue is that the people need this money now. We can't all keep waiting and waiting. It's been over a month already. It's taking forever, and people are really struggling. And then if it's in the wrong account, that could take another month. Everything is just so backed up. And oh my gosh, listen to this. Some people who are dead are getting a stimulus check. Literal dead people. A U.S. representative from Kentucky, his name's Thomas Massey, he tweeted a screenshot of a text sent to him that said, it was like a screenshot, and it said, Dad got his stimulus check of $1,200. He died in 2018. Does he have to spend it online? With a palm and face emoji. And then Massey tweeted that the screenshot photo along with the tweet that he said, okay, this is insane, but just the tip of the iceberg. This is a direct text to me from a friend. I called to confirm this actually just happened. And that's the end of the tweet. And it turns out this is happening and happening kind of frequently. And once they send the check, it's sent. So the deceased person's family members can actually keep the money. So I guess what's happening is that the IRS doesn't really have like anything that will explicitly indicate someone had passed away, like someone who died recently. They check for the 2019 tax files, and if they aren't there, then they go by 2018. And they're trying to do things really quickly and aren't as focused on precision. So these mistakes are happening a lot, it seems like. Some people who don't technically qualify are getting sent a check, and others who qualify for the full $1,200 are getting sent $600. So it's not very fair. It's not running very smoothly, and things do not seem to be going well. Oh, and did you hear how Trump's name is going to be printed on every single one of these stimulus checks? It's going to be the first time ever that a president's name is printed on a government check like that. There's literally no reason that it should be printed on there, but I mean, whatever. The man is obsessed with himself. We all know that. And the negative part of it is that now, because of this, it could cause even more of a delay. Just because Trump always comes first. The president of the IRS Professional Managers Association, his name is Chad Hooper. He said that changing the computer code to include his name could slow things up because any last-minute changes create a downstream snarl that will result in a delay. So that's just great. I mean, who cares if his name is on it? There's literally no benefit. It just doesn't need to be the case. Okay, next up, I'm going to talk about some really disturbing news that I saw on a section on Twitter that has to do with landlords and sex. So I'll let you think about that over the break, and I will be right back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Hi. I was just discussing stimulus checks a bit further and how two people have received over $8 million deposited into their bank accounts by accident for a brief time. Dead people are receiving checks too, in some cases, but the majority of your average citizen, people aren't getting their checks yet. They're coming, but very slowly. So now listen to this. People are obviously struggling right now, especially when it comes to paying rent. close to 1/3 of Americans didn't pay their rent within the first 5 days of this month of April. And there are scummy landlords out there using this as an opportunity to try to get sex out of it. BuzzFeed ran the story and it took off on social media. Kara Jabola Carolis, whoa, that's a name, the executive director of the Hawaii State Commission, said that they've received more cases of sexual harassment in the last 2 days than they've had in the last 2 years. That is crazy. And this one lady who couldn't pay rent because of all of this said that she texted a could-be landlord, like she was like about to move in somewhere. And she said, hey, I need a more affordable property right now. And the guy responded with a picture of his genitals. His, oh God, that, ew. And this other lady who just lost her job asked her landlord if she could pay back April rent when she found work again. And the guy responded telling her that she could come over and spoon him instead. I guess landlords doing stuff like this isn't a new thing. I'd never heard of this, but now landlords are doing it way, way more, totally taking advantage of their tenants and putting them in extremely weird and uncomfortable situations. Some landlords are straight up being like, well, if we have sex, then you don't need to pay April rent. They're saying that to people. Literally exchanging sex for rent. And according to Cheryl Ring, the legal director at Open Communities, which is like a legal aid and fair housing agency, women of color and trans women are being particularly targeted in scenarios like this right now. Just in general too, but especially right now. She says, the law is on your side though, and to definitely take legal action. Don't even try to compromise with people like that. And what they're doing is extremely illegal, and to not be afraid, stand up for yourself and go get some help. And also, don't be afraid to kind of stick it to them, because they can't just kick you out or change your locks just because you didn't comply with their harassment. That would be illegal. So don't be afraid to do something about it. If this is something you or someone you know is experiencing, reach out to an agency like Cheryl's. People are very messed up. Okay, let's move on to post-coronavirus predictions. It seems like everybody on social media starts their posts nowadays with, when this is over, and then fill in the blank. Like me, for example, when this is over, I am going to get a freaking haircut. My hair is out of control, and same with my eyebrows. So let's discuss what things might be like when this is over, because they definitely aren't just going to go back to complete normal. We're going to see some major shifts in our behavior as an entire society, probably on a global level as well. I've seen a lot of people sharing an article from Forbes that's titled 9 Future Predictions for a Post-Coronavirus World. And I will read you these 9 predictions. Okay, so number 1, more contactless interfaces and interactions. The article suggests we will be hyper aware of screen surfaces now, and we'll be seeing more voice activated options or facial or gesture recognition devices, stuff like that. Number 2, strengthened digital infrastructure. So that's saying that this shelter in place has shown us that we can do a lot of things from home. Like, it's kind of pointless to travel to a whole different state or even country just for a meeting. So we might adapt to virtual meetings. Even when we're allowed to meet in person, that virtual meetings kind of might start being the go-to. Number 3, better monitoring using IoT and big data. Meaning, like, we'll see apps and stuff like that that can track who is showing symptoms and where they've been. for not just coronavirus, but any kind of outbreak. And that's kind of freaky. Number 4, AI-enabled drug development. Artificial intelligence is an ideal partner in drug development because it can accelerate and complement human endeavors. Number 5, telemedicine. So consultations for your health through video conference and having over-the-phone doctor's appointments, all that is going to be more prominent. Number 6, more online shopping. That's self-explanatory. Number 7, increased reliance on robots. So to deliver groceries, we've already been starting to see that. Robots going down the street delivering groceries, or they could use robots to go in and check on a patient's vitals, because that's safer because robots don't get sick. But the whole delivering the groceries thing, though, that might be kind of tricky because what if somebody steals the groceries or steals the robot? I don't know. We'll have to figure that one out. Number 8, more digital events for, say, big conferences or things that might have a capacity issue. That could be a good alternative. And online or virtual events might become more popular. Remember how I was telling you about Digital Mirage? That might be part of this whole moving to more digital events. Okay, and finally, number 9, a rise in esports. So there are no sports going on right now. Whole seasons have been canceled. Sports are taking a big hit from this. But as for esports, they are thriving. They're doing great right now. So that might be a whole new thing because there's nothing else to watch. So people are kind of turning their attention towards esports. And it might hook them. What are some predictions that you have about the future? I think we will start seeing people wear masks for a very long while. Even after all this is over, I think people will keep wearing masks. And heck, I might wear one after lockdown is over too because I have asthma, so I'm a high-risk person. And I also think that we'll see more students opting to take online classes. Okay, next up, I'm going to talk about USPS and the struggles that it's facing due to COVID. So stay tuned.
Want to find out what movies to go see? Then check out the GSMC Movie Podcast. It's your ticket to the latest movies, whether it's a new blockbuster event, romantic, comedy, or action flick. This show has got it all covered. They talk some what to go see now. Don't bother. What's hot on Netflix and everything in between. That's GSMCpodcast.com/movie-podcast. When it's all about the movies, it has to be this new show. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Welcome back. I was just talking about post-coronavirus predictions, what we might see in the future that was not the norm before the pandemic. For instance, maybe we'll see more digital events, more telemedicine, and maybe even apps that can track outbreaks and tell you where people have been who were showing symptoms. That's freaky stuff. Let's move into the U.S. Postal Service situation. So it came to my attention through social media about a week or two ago, but it's since then gained a lot of momentum amongst Americans. There's a whole texting line thing going on now You can help save USPS by texting USPS to 50409. There's a viral tweet going around from user at La Luna Mercado, and they wrote, "Attention everyone, please read below. Trump is trying to stop funding USPS. That means no small businesses. Go text the number below and go buy stamps to help fund USPS. This is not good. We need to work together to see the changes we need now." In all capital letters and a lot of exclamation points. I don't know what they meant about that means no small business. But I don't think that's true, because the whole reason USPS is getting left behind is because of the Paycheck Protection Program, which is where Trump wants the money to go, and it's in place to protect small businesses. Even though most small businesses are falling through the cracks and not getting the help that they need, but that's a different issue. But anyways, then this tweet is also accompanied by graphics. And in these graphics, it says, in case you didn't know, the U.S. Postal Service is in a lot of trouble. Trump is ready to let the Postal Service go bankrupt and lose federal funding. And if that's the case, the Postal Service could come to a halt by June. This is terrifying. USPS is absolutely essential and farther reaching than most people realize. We also heavily depend on the USPS for the ability to vote by mail. With poll workers getting sick, in-person poll places being shut down, there's expected to be a flood of absentee ballots that need to be sent via, you guessed it, USPS. We cannot hold an election without a functioning post office. To shut down and not save USPS is an attack on voting rights. How can you help save the post office? Text USPS to 50409 and they'll contact your state representative on your behalf with a petition to save the USPS, or write and mail via USPS your state representatives telling them you support the USPS. Go buy stamps. Okay, done. That's what they said. That was a lot. I said USPS like 20,000 times. So the Trump administration doesn't particularly care about USPS, and they also are trying to deter mail-in voting for this election. So I guess it makes sense that they're letting USPS go under. There's a lot more complexities that I'm saying right now, but this is the gist of it. And there's this whole social media movement encouraging everyone to buy stamps from USPS right now. The logic is that if enough people even shell out like $5 or $10 for stamps that they will eventually need and use anyways, then it would be enough to save USPS from sinking under. And these people are right. USPS is a staple to America. And without them, I think things would definitely get ugly. So if the administration isn't going to step up to help them, then it's up to us, I guess. And as for the whole country, Trump has unfolded a 3-phase plan. So let's break that down. Just to summarize, because at Jack Royer on Twitter did the work for us, so I'm going to relay what he posted. So phase 1. Vulnerable people should shelter in place. Telework encouraged. Minimize essential travel. Avoid groups of 10 or more. Gyms can reopen with sanitation. Large venues can operate with social distancing. Bars still closed. And then, however, states will be required to show a downward trajectory in confirmed COVID cases over a 14-day period before they can move forward with a phased reopening. So this includes going into phase 1. We can't even start phase 1 until we show that we're on the down. Okay, and then phase 2. This will be after 14 days and having all criteria still being met. Vulnerable people should still shelter in place. Gatherings should be fewer than 50 people. Non-essential travel resumes. Schools will reopen. Continue to telework when possible. Still no visits to senior centers. Bars can open with limited occupancy. And then the schools reopen thing, that doesn't really count because, I mean, I guess there's summer schools, but I think just that's all canceled. So I don't think the school, because by the time that we get to phase 2, it'll be middle of summer or something, I'm guessing, and there's not going to be school anyway, so that doesn't really matter. Okay, and then phase 3 will come in, and it will be after another solid 14 days or longer with no evidence of any rebound. Vulnerable people can resume public activity. There are unrestricted work sites. Bars can operate with increased occupancy, and visits to senior facilities and hospitals can resume. So that's the plan in a nutshell. Those are just kind of the key points. There's more to it. And there's like rules for, how many people are being tested and stuff like that states have to follow in order to start phase 1. But we're kind of struggling with that whole testing thing. So it's going to be interesting to see how this 3-phase plan works out. Okay, coming up, I'm going to be talking about cruise ships. So I'll be right back.
Always on the go, but the day just won't be one without your Hollywood fix. Let Golden State Media Concepts Entertainment Podcast take care of that. Jordan and Keith is Entertainment Tonight meets Access Hollywood.
I'm Jordan. The guy laughing, that's Keith.
Yeah, I'm Keith.
An all-inclusive look of pop culture.
Hello, I was just talking about the USPS situation and how they need help, but the federal government is kind of just leaving them in the dust for right now. And I also touched on the key points of Trump's 3-phase plan that he recently announced to get the country reopened. Let's talk about cruise lines. Cruise lines are in deep stuff right now, with not only going under because cruises are canceled right now, but because of lawsuits and being irresponsible. Cruises, first of all, don't pay taxes because they all found a loophole where they fly under a different flag and register in a different country to avoid American taxes and stuff like that. For example, Carnival is registered in Panama. The Royal Caribbean Cruises is registered in Libya. So this was all fine and well for these cruises right until the pandemic hit, because now they don't qualify for American aid or American stimulus packages. They're run by Americans, leave out of America, but they don't qualify for anything American because they wanted to scathe by with no taxes. So a lot of these ships were ordered to be docked at their respective ports, and most of them had to go be docked in the country they're registered in. And there were crew and passengers still aboard on some of these ships when they were having to return to their port. And then those countries were like, heck no, denying them entry, saying you can't come here because you're going to spread it here. We don't want you, go somewhere else. So that was a whole mess. Like, they had to figure out what to do with those people. There's still people out there right now. But Trump is obsessed with cruise lines and really doesn't want to see them go under. So he's working really hard to find ways to help them out, regardless of where they're registered. And some representatives have mentioned that these cruise lines should just bite the bullet and re-register properly in America so they can pay their taxes like everyone else and then in turn receive a relief package. That seems like the best option. And I hope Trump doesn't help them until they do that so it's fair. But Carnival is under the most fire right now, with an entire section on Twitter dedicated to how their executives knew they had a virus problem, but kept the party going. it says that more than 1,500 people on the company's cruise ships have been diagnosed with COVID-19 and dozens have died. The CDC is mad and saying they knew darn well that there was a problem, and many cruises left their dock anyway, well after the severity of it all had been announced. And President and Chief Executive Officer Arnold Donald said, quote, "This is a generational global event. It's unprecedented. Nothing's perfect, okay? They will say, wow, these things Carnival did great. These things, 2020 hindsight, they could have done better." End quote. Then he goes on to say stuff like each ship is like a mini city and that they failed to prepare just like all the national and local governments failed, and they should be judged the same way. But the CDC is not buying it. Cindy Friedman, who is the leading epidemiologist for the CDC's cruise ship task force, says, quote, "Maybe that excuse flies after the Diamond Princess or maybe after the Grand Princess. I have a hard time believing they're just a victim of happenstance." End quote. And then she then says how several plagued ships didn't even begin their voyages until well after the company knew it was risky to do so. And currently, there are 3,200 passengers and crew still out stuck on ships quarantined because of all this. So I'm getting all of this info from a Twitter thread and article written by Austin Carr and Chris Palmieri of Bloomberg.com. And they spoke to some of the passengers on these earlier cruise ships, like on the Grand Princess. And the way I took it was kind of like the cruise people were like, oh no, this is a problem. What do we do? How do we tell the guests that this is happening without angering them? And well, they said, I guess we'll mention it, but we'll just still have fun like everything's fine and keep everything going. So they announced, and they were just like, yeah, the U.S. Centers for Disease Control began investigating a small cluster of COVID cases that might be linked to this ship, but no worries. It's okay. Just no worries. And then later on, like a couple days later, passengers saw crew members wearing gloves, implementing hand sanitizer stations, but everything was still open and running as normal. And once they got that announced, like, they should definitely have just turned around, but they tried to keep going like everything was fine. Shows, theater, concerts, line dancing classes, you name it. Everything was still going. All was fine and well. And then a few days later, on March 5th, the captain announced that everyone needed to shelter in place in their cabins. And everybody was like, what the heck? Like, how, like everything was just fine, and now all of a sudden we have to shelter in place? So because of that announcement, everybody rushed to the buffet. They immediately just all got up and were like, oh, we got to get food. We got to stock up on food. So there were people rushing around everywhere, navigating through narrow hallways, crowded elevators, all bunching together getting food. The announcement pretty much made everybody go into chaos mode, and they all got really, really close together before dispersing, which was not a good thing. And then people were starting to test positive, and then this whole cruise ship became the main fixture on the news. Helicopters started dropping supplies. Food was dropped off to passengers' rooms. Everyone was wearing masks. I'm sure you remember. And even after this all happened, some cruises, some of these ships still left their ports to begin their journey. That is reckless. The Grand Princess cruise should have turned around at the first notification, but instead kept going. And then on top of that, other ships went out after it. That is absurd. So now they're dealing with a whole bunch of lawsuits. People who were just trying to go on a nice, fun, relaxing, leisurely cruise are now dead forever. It's devastating. Okay, after the break, I'm gonna talk about some fun stuff, so stay tuned.
The GSMC Life and Happiness podcast takes you on a journey of exploration. We'll discuss tried and true methods alongside the latest trends of how to best live your life to its fullest and happiest. From psychology to meditation, science to self-help books, the GSMC Life and Happiness podcast will help you to discover what makes you happy and how you can live life being the best you possible. Download the GSMC Life and Happiness podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Welcome back. I was just talking about cruise lines going under and how Carnival executives are under fire right now for keeping the party going, even though they were very aware of the virus problem. So let's talk about some fun stuff now. Have you guys seen the pillow dress trend? It's all over social media. I've seen it on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and Snapchat. So this is pretty odd, but it's fun. All you do is find a big enough pillow in your house that'll cover your privates, and you strap it around your naked body with a belt, and then try to make it look like a dress and take a picture and upload it. And the point is you put the belt high around your waist so the pillow flares out in the bottom, is skinny in the middle, and flares out in the top to cover you up and give off the look of a dress. And people from all over the world have participated in the trend. I've seen men do it, sisters do it, mother and daughter duos do it, old people, young people, celebrities have done it. So if you want to check it out or try it yourself and you want to get some inspo, then check out hashtag pillow dress challenge or hashtag quarantine pillow dress. And a bunch of pictures will pop up. And some people have gotten like really creative and made an entire look out of it with high heels, a sun hat, an expensive purse. I've even seen some girls using a Gucci belt. And some are really cool, so check that out. And Britney Spears. She is in the spotlight right now for posting a video to Instagram dancing to a Justin Timberlake song. And part of her caption said, P.S. I know we had one of the world's biggest breakups 20 years ago. But hey, the man is a genius. Great song, JT. And the internet went wild, like totally wild. I wasn't even expecting it to get as much attention as it's getting. Justin Timberlake ended up commenting on the post with a laughing face emoji and the hands up in the air one like it's showing praise. And I love me some Britney, so this was definitely content I wanted to see. But also, there's nothing going on right now. So blogs and entertainment news went crazy for this because it's finally something non-COVID related that's fun and juicy and kind of something we weren't expecting. Okay, and now let's transition from dancing to singing, specifically the Disney SingALong. Disney put on a nationwide family sing-along, complete with celebrity guests and their family members. It was hosted by the one and only Ryan Seacrest on ABC, and all the singers participated from their own homes. Some big names were involved, like Ariana Grande, Demi Lovato, Elle Fanning, Tori Kelly, and even Beyonce. The cast of High School Musical even came on and performed that song, We're All in This Together. So, like Vanessa Hudgens, Ashley Tisdale, and Zac Efron was there, but he didn't participate in the song. He just introduced the cast in the song that they were about to sing. I guess he didn't participate due to poor internet connection. I guess he was kind of hunkered down in the middle of nowhere and had patchy Wi-Fi, so that's all they could get out of him. But it was still a total throwback, and the cast members definitely got really, really into it. But people on social media were really bummed that Zach didn't sing along. At Kathleen_Hanley wrote on Twitter, me realizing that Zac Efron was just introducing the cast of High School Musical and not actually singing with them. # Disney Family Sing-Along. And then she included a meme of Troy giving Gabriella a T necklace saying T as in Troy. And then the next picture said, no, Gabriella, T as in this is an outrage. I thought that was funny. And Ariana Grande sang I Won't Say I'm in Love from Hercules, and she did all of the different parts herself and had multiple screens going at the same time. It was a whole performance right from her house on the screen. I thought she killed it. And the legendary Beyonce was a surprise performance on the sing-along, singing the classic song, When You Wish Upon a Star. She looked so beautiful and radiant and elegant, and her voice sounded like that of an angel, just Beyonce things. And people on Twitter noticed that Disney didn't include lyrics to the song for the sing-along. Like all the other songs that were performed had the lyrics on the bottom, kind of like karaoke, so people sitting at home could sing along. But they didn't do that with Beyonce. It was just her singing and that was it. So people were making jokes saying like, oh, no, Disney was like, don't even try to sing along with Beyonce. Just hush and shut up and listen to her perform. And that's really funny because that probably is what happened, because you just got to shut up and listen to Beyonce's perfection and don't ruin it with your own voice. Okay, that is all for tonight. Keep your hands washed. If you need stamps, then buy them from the USPS to help them out, I guess. And if you're still waiting for your stimulus check, then go to the IRS website for an update. Plug in your info. Okay, so thank you for listening to the GSMC Social Media News Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. Once again, I am your host, Kayla Moeller. And if you could do me a favor, subscribe to the show, write a review or something, that really helps us. And don't forget to give us a follow on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thanks, guys. Have a wonderful night.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Social Media Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.